Good morning, Chaplain. This is Aunty Janeth with another Monday morning devotion based on a Jamaican saying, phrase, story, habit, pattern, something Jamaican that helps us to get clarity or get insight into the Word of God. This morning, I want to talk to you about away your name. So, in the days when I was in Chapelton working with the symphony group, we'd be going home in the night after practice, and they had this thing they would just play out in the night while they're walking home, and they would clap and they would say, away your name. And of course, the person would say, Karine, away your name. And then they would call another person, Jacinth, away your name, Kim. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but it's something like that. And it was just something where they ask you your name and you answer right away. You know what I mean? Now, know the Jamaican phenomenon. I think I may have spoken on this before in a devotion, but I want to say it again. So here's the Jamaican phenomenon where we have pet name. So how many people know somebody named Blossom? Now, if you admit saying you know somebody named Blossom. I had a friend named Blossom. Thank God it was high school. I got to meet her because then her real name was Hannah. All right. You know how we do it in Jamaica. I'm always amazed because the name don't even make sense. For example, Sister Althea Wisdom on this call, Sister Althea name is Susie. So I went up to I go up to Maryland when I met her in Maryland the first time, and they said her name was Susie, but just her name was Althea. Then on this chat you have Kamal. But Kamal is not her name. Her name is really Brenda. Then you have Jacinth. Not named Jacinth, she named Pam. So you know how we do it in Jamaica. I don't understand how we have names. And the name them, it's not even like, sometimes you have like Shelleen. I think Shelleen is, Lord, she's a punch, something like that. But, well, okay, if Sheleen's name is Punch, you can kind of tell, so that's a pet name, Punch or Pansy or something. But it's when you have another name that sounds just like an English name. So, for example, Stephanie, Cleon's wife, Stephanie name is Janeth. Me say, when me hear them name and me start laughing, because I got a joke from Jacinth once. I guess she was sending money home, and she sent it to her sister, and she put the sister name. Them call and say them not get the money. But Jacinth said she send it. Them said to her they not get the money. Then them tell her say she send it to the wrong name. So let's say the name, she must have called them Michelle. The name was probably, you know how it go. So she get mad. She said she get mad about it. I said, I don't know what happened to them people. Only to realize that she know the same. She not no better than them, because she never realized if her name is Jacinth, everybody call her Jacinth. But her name is Pamela. So she didn't even forget her name is Pamela, and the very thing she has to the people them should have be careful of, because now she have to change the Western Union and put it back in the other name. Only to realize that she herself have two names. So I want to ask you, away your name. And I want to go to Isaiah 62 verse 4. All right? Because sometimes people put name on us. I mean, when you look in every Jamaican community, we have a name for somebody. In fact, the symphony group laugh and say how I give people name. I guess I looked at one of the young men at practice one time, and he was smiling away when I was trying to get him to pay attention. And I guess me go say, you see how you're pretty? From that he got the name Pretty. You know how we do it in Jamaica. And then Daddy always used to call people names. So if you name Han, him call you Foot. And they call him Brother Ticklish. So we always have so many names. Sometimes names can have negative connotation, and sometimes in society people name us because of something we did wrong, a mistake we made, a very shameful thing sometimes that we do, and they won't forget, and we're named. And I was thinking about away a name. What about the name God calls us, What does he call us? And I've been setting the stage as we have begun the new year. We're talking about love one another. the way Christ has loved you. And also love your neighbor as yourself. And you can't love yourself if you don't know. You can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. And you can't love yourself if you don't know that God love you. So I want to ask away your name. And I'm going to Isaiah 62 verse 4. Because it says here, thou shalt no more be termed forsaken. Neither shall thy land any more be termed desolate, but thou shalt be called Hephzibah, and thy land Beulah, for the Lord delights. For the Lord delights in you. They have another word, instead of forsaken, it says no longer will you be called deserted or your land desolate. Some of us have taken on some names that situations have given us. Not true. So may I ask you this morning, away your name. And I want to tell you, take on the name the Lord has given. It says in Isaiah 62 verse 4, but you shall be called, my delight is in her, and your land shall be called married, which is Beulah, for the Lord delights in you. And I want us to know this because honestly, it is so easy for us to think that God is displeased. And I want to tell you something. The righteousness you have is because of Jesus. You can't do anything to be more righteous than when he says you're righteous. He paid the price. Our job is to believe it and to accept it. And after we start accepting it, you find that you become what you believe. He empowers you. Sometimes we get into the trap of trying to work up the righteousness. God gave it to us. We accept it. And you know, if I said to somebody, do you believe God delights in you? Many times we don't think so because we can see the areas where we have failed. So even though we know God loves us, like I used to hear that so much in church, I just never ever thought of myself as somebody who God delights in. It's like, what? Nobody said them sitting there, God not delighting in you, better be obedient. But what if he delights in you? That's why he sent Jesus, to show us the Father. Because the Father sees us as his children and he delights in us. So away your name. And may I beg you to take on the name today. What about if you were to say, my name is Hephzibah, because the Lord delights in me? Do you know what that does to you? It stops headache. You know, when you know so somebody caring for you and delighting you, worry, start worry, your headache stop. What I mean by that? Sometimes we have pressure, man, because we're not resting in the Lord. It's like, oh God, we got out and we get anxious when so somebody delights in you. Then so they're going to provide for you. They're going to care for you. And you start enjoying feeling secure. It's like you're in our house. And instead of it leaking, you realize you can go sleep because the zinc now go leak and the water now go coming on you. You're secure and you can rest. And as you start resting, then you enjoy the light. And then you find that because you know how God feels about you, you can then pour out on other people. You're not even watching them. You not even have time for watching because you're so wrapped up, tied up, tangled up in the fact that you are God's delight. My delight is in her. That's what Isaiah 62 verse 4 says. You shall no more be termed forsaken. So I just want to speak to you. If your name forsaken, if maybe your nickname has been whatever community call you, change it. Take the name Isaiah 62 verse 4. But you shall be called Hephzibah, because my delight is in her. The Lord delights in you. And I just want to ask you this. Away your name. Away your name. Hephzibah. Away your name. Hephzibah. Away your name. Hephzibah. Why? Because the Lord delights in you. Enough to practice that, Get used to it. get used to it. It can take you years, because if you think, say, God, no, please at all, you will never ever be able to say that, and you start blushing. Some of us used to people, me hear how me have to talk the truth now. Sometimes as Jamaicans, when we talk to a pitney and we say, you dirty dog, and all of these, and we don't realize that the children hearing those names. And then we turn around and think, say, so God talk to it. And I said, God talk to it. I know, so God talk to it. How him going to send him son if he die for you because him love you, then him go call you dirty dog? No, sir. All right. We had a young lady come to Jamaica, visit us one time, and her name was Rachel Hockett. And we've had some beautiful people visiting. And Rachel recorded a song that I want you to hear. And she sends her love to Chapter. She was on camp the other day for us. But this one says, I hear you calling out my name. And it says, you call me beautiful. You call me righteous. You call me worthy of your son's own precious blood. Away your name. Put off the nickname that brand you and take on God's name. Isaiah 62 verse 4. Hephzibah, Beulah. All right. Listen to Rachel. All right. And she sends her love to Chapter, and she loves Chapter very, very much.
I hear you calling out my name, as only you can do. Your voice, it covers all my shame, beyond you do to me. No matter how things look to me, you see your destiny, a perfect promise. You call me beautiful, you call me righteous, you call me worthy of your son's own precious blood. You call me holy, you call me strong at my weakest, forgiven and pure. You call me yours. It's hard for me to understand exactly what you see. I slip and stumble every day, but still you say believe. You say you will finish what you start. You see me for my heart and not the bruises. You call me beautiful, you call me righteous, you call me worthy of your son's own precious blood. You call me holy, you call me strong at my weakest, forgiven and pure. You call me
Do you know that that's what God calls you? He calls you beautiful. He calls you righteous because he did it. Wear your name. Away your name. Throw off the old nickname. Throw off all the other things and take on Hephzibah. And know that you are his. And then you can find yourself pouring out with love to others because you're full. You know who you are. Father, thank you. Thank you for the name you call us, God. Lord, we not have to take on even names from childhood or pet names in a match. God, you call us yours. You call us yours, God. We're so grateful. And we just take that name and we call ourselves Hephzibah. The Lord delights in us. Chapaton, sometimes we really pile on the nickname. So let us try calling ourselves what God calls us. Amen? All right. Walk good. Walk good.